a lot of money, usually, more than you had as a youth. You have a lot of energy to go about your work and endeavors and trying to make business or progress in your career, but you don't have time. And this is, most of us are in this stage at the moment. Then comes old age. And in old age, we all know we have plenty of time. The energy has gone, and there is also plenty of money. So time is a factor which we can look through by these analogies, like the circular motion of the moon around the earth, which we call the month. So today we're going to do some astronomy, some learning, because why? Once we study all this, as I mentioned before, it will give you vishwas, that there is a lot to it. How did the rishis know so much? And who were they? And what information they portrayed to us? In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna himself mentions 3 times that he is the time. He is the Kal Purusha. The Kal means the time, Purusha is the Supreme Being. So when we think about time, we have to think about the Lord Krishna and what did he mean about it. Just for interest, I've given some quotations from the Srimad Bhagavad. Lord Krishna is written like this. I'll just read it out. Lord Krishna, together with the Munis, pacified the shocked family who had lost their friends and family by showing how each is subject to time that cannot be avoided. Again, there's another quotation. Just as the present time is evidence of the past and an indication for the future, so even is this birth indicative of the dharma and adharma of one's past and future births. So you can see a lot of references to time and how it affects us. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna mentions that when charity is given at the wrong place and the wrong time to unworthy persons, and also if it is given to anyone but without respect and proper attention, it's like if you just throw a roti to a beggar in the street rather than serve him with 2 hands. That's what is meaning here. That is said to be in the mode of ignorance. So here you can see again a reference to time, the wrong time. So today we're going to learn what are the right times, what are the auspicious times, what are the negative times. Again, he mentions in the Bhagavad, it is mentioned about the forefathers when we do the Shraddha, Pitru Pujas. And somebody is asking how are time durations determined to the position of planets, stars and luminaries. So here is a reference to planets, stars and luminaries, which means the sun and the moon. And this will bring us to the Adhik Maas, because it is related with the moon's movement around the earth and the moon and earth's movement around the sun. So we all know that time is quite important. Timing a joke, like in telling a joke, if you say the punchline at the wrong time, you won't get the laughter. In striking a business deal, the time is very valuable and important to make the right decision at the right time and acquire a company, buy a business, or promote or market your goods. You know that the timing has to be right. Even when Apple introduces its phone, it introduces it at the right time, usually during September, correct me if I'm wrong, but they know when the market is right and ripe to accept it. So timing is very important. In modern science, everybody knows about time in a quantitative manner, which means they know the speed of things, they know the distance, what is the distance from Bombay to London, how long it takes to fly from London to New York. We can measure this. What is the duration of space travel from the Earth to the Moon? So all these things are quantitative. But our rishis were very wise and learned, and through their Turiya state of meditation, that's the 4th state where the mind goes very deep, beyond the subconscious, they could reach out and connect with the cosmos and learn much more. And what they found out is that each time period has a quality. So quality of time is something that they realized and portrayed and conveyed to us. I said Turiya state is an avastha, is a state of mind. We have 4 states. We have the Jagrat state, for example, when we are awake. We have the Nidras, we have the Swapna state, when we are in the dream mode. We have the Nidra state, when we are in deep sleep. And then beyond that is the Turiya state, which the rishis could achieve. Then they realized that there are some times which are very effective, and then there are times which are quite disadvantageous for various purposes. And they figured this out through the relationship of the movement of planets. Movement of planets around the Earth going around the Sun and the other planets going around the Sun. Excuse me. So this movement of planets, which the rishis conceived through the meditation state, is called in our Shastras Jyotisha. It is one of the Vedantas. We know what are the Vedas, the teachings of various sciences and knowledge given by the rishis. So Jyotisha is one of the Vedantas, one of the limbs of the Vedas, to understand what is written in all the, in the Bhagavad, in the Gita, in all the other Purans. We need this to understand. The other Vedantas, the angs of the Vedas, are, for example, Kalpa, the rituals, there's Nirukta, there is Shiksha, the intonation, there is Vyakarna, the grammar. So all these things are required by a learned Brahman to understand what is written in the Shastras. And above all of them is Jyotisha, because Jyoti means light and Ish means Ishwar. It is the light of God shining on our path. So when we understand Jyotisha, we'll be able to understand why certain things happen at certain months, why Lord Krishna is born on Ashtami Tithi, why Rama is born on Navami Tithi. All these have scientific reasons behind it. So the rishis were able to convey a lot of information and scientific principles through mythological stories. Now one must consider and imagine those thousands of years ago or even hundreds of years ago, the common people were not so highly educated, they were not aware, so how to convey the information? They would convey information by telling a very pleasant story. And these Puranic stories, we call them, because there are many Purans, 18 Purans at least, they talk about the philosophy of life, and in such a way that it makes it pleasant and accessible for the listener to understand. So the stories make an attraction. When they make an attraction, there is an entertainment for the public. Somebody who is more interested then would go up to the Guru and say, can you explain the deep meaning behind this? Then the Guru will know that he's the right or she's the right person and convey the deep spiritual meaning and life lessons. There is also a third, deeper level. It is so amazing how they were able to write in just a couplet of verses so much depth of so much information. Then there is a lot of times scientific information behind it, scientific principles. And Adhik Maas story is one of these stories where it's not just a story, but it also conveys a scientific principle. At the same time, when the rishis explain that time has a quality, that quality we will learn in a minute, in a few minutes, that it has a quality and what we should do during this time. It's like, you know, when it is raining, that you must put on your raincoat and take your umbrella just to avoid it. Unlike a sunny day like today, you know, the quality of the time is nice and warm and sunshine, so we don't have to protect ourselves so much. Similarly, there are times in the Shastras given where we are supposed to do certain things and not do certain things, which will be beneficial for us. So, as I said, mythological stories, one of the stories is about Surya Narayan, the sun god, and it is said that the sun god drives on a chariot with one wheel which has 12 spokes and is driven by 7 white horses. The horses are tethered together not by leather belts but by serpents. So that's a very interesting story, and it will grab the attention, and everybody will be happy, and they will worship Surya Narayan, the Narayan in the form of Surya. But what is the meaning? The meaning behind it is that the one wheel represents the cycle of the year. The 12 spokes represent the 12 months, and the 7 horses represent the 7 colors of white light, because the sun's light is white, and it is, as we all know, the rainbow, which breaks up the white light during the rains. It shows that the white light is only white because actually it's composed of 7 colors. So again, this was just an example to whet your appetite, to create more vishwas, so the Shraddha can increase, and then you can probably go and study more things, how the ancients, rishis, explained. We know we have the avatars of Lord Vishnu, and they're all interesting stories. What happens in the Varaha avatar, what happens in the Matsya avatar, and what happens in Narsiya avatar. So there were stories, and I'm sure you know many of those stories. But again, as I said, there are deeper meanings. And one of the meanings is that it also reflects about the evolution of life. It shows that initially, as science found out, when Darwin mentioned that this is how life has progressed, our rishis knew well ahead, but they wrote it in verses and with symbological stories. So the Matsya avatar represents the life of life in water, where the fish began, for example. Then becomes the Kurma avatar, the amphibians, as they move to land as well as water. And after that is the Varaha avatar, that is the mammalian stage of evolution. I was hoping there would be more young people here, because the whole objective of this talk was to convince the teenagers and youngsters to pursue it. But never mind, hopefully you will convey to the children about this. So the Narsiya avatar is when man is half developed, half animal-like, half man-like. The Vamana avatar is like the Neanderthal man, very wise or clever, knows how to use tools, knows how to manage things, but still a little bit undeveloped. And then that's why Vamana was the short dwarf form of Vishnu. And then there's Purshotam avatar. We can say it's like the Iron Age, when man becomes totally upright and able to hunt and gather. Then you get the Ram avatar. So as the human race has progressed, you get Lord Rama showing you how to live righteously, how to do your duty, perform your dharma, and following all the true principles of a correct, upright life. Then comes Lord Krishna, and when Lord Krishna comes, he's portraying how the world has evolved and progressed. He's the great statesman, he's the politician, he's very clever, very wise, knows the political tactics. And that's when the world starts to get more difficult and bad, because the moment Lord Krishna leaves, it is the end of Dwapara Yuga and the Kali Yuga starts. As you know from the stories of Lord Krishna, things started going down, people's greed increased, a lot of negative things happened, and the human race started experiencing the Kshatriyas. These are the 6 negative conditions, like Kam, Krodha, Labh, Moh, Mother, and so on. So the ego started, the greed started. So Lord Krishna was showing this and how to go beyond that. Then finally we have the Buddha avatar. So once the humans went through all these Kshatriyas and becoming greedy and becoming ill-mannered and so on, then people realize there is no satisfaction, actually, there is no peace. So Buddha avatar reflects that actually, after achieving everything, all we want is peace, which is called Shanti. So that was just to give you an idea, and there are so many such stories. They're not just stories, that's the message I'm trying to convey. They have a lot of meaning, a lot of scientific principles, and even each of these avatars we can do a whole half-day workshop to explain much more depth, but that's not the occasion today. So Adhik Maas is when there are 13 lunar months instead of 12 that happen usually in a year. In most parts of India, like Gujarat, Maharashtra, and so on, not all parts of India use this calendar system, because what we use, the Vedic calendar, is a solely lunar calendar, where we use the movement of the earth around the sun, as well as the movement of the moon around the earth. So we combine both the effects, because the movement around the sun gives us the seasons, and the movement of the moon around the earth gives us what we call tithis, as we see the waxing moon and waning moon, different phases. We call it the Shukla Adi system because for us, the moon, the new month, starts from after Amavasya. So Amavasya is the new moon, and the one day after the new moon, when there's a slight glimmer of light, it is called the first tithi. And I'll explain in a minute what the tithis are, because it's also very interesting to know. And this year, 2018, the Adhik Maas, this extra special month, is happening in what we call in the Hindu Dharma, the Vedic month of Jeshta. It's also interesting side note that we use the new month beginning from after the new moon, called the Shukla Adi system, because Shukla means that is going to increase in light. But in Vraj, actually, in Lord Krishna's Bhumi, they use the Krishna Adi system. They count the new moon, new month from beginning of after the Punam. So the day after Punam will be the new month. So if you get calendars from ISKCON, you might be sometimes confused why they're writing the month started 15 days before it should have started. It's because they use a different system. In fact, when India got independence and had to start their own calendar system, there were existing more than 40 different regional calendar systems. So it's a very complicated science, very complicated, and the Gregorian calendar, which the world uses, is much simpler, and the whole world can follow without these complications. But our complications have a lot of meanings, and it's good to know a little bit about it. So as I said, the Adhik Maas this year is happening in what we call Jeshta. So what is Jeshta? Because a lot of your youngsters and children will ask, why are these months called like this? So here you will see that the Jeshta is here, which occurs between May and June. Now, our months, our lunar months, always happen from the middle of the Gregorian or English calendar month. So it's usually around 14, 15, 16 of the month to the next 14, 15, 16. It depends on the speed of the moon traveling at that time. So this Jeshta month, you can see, or we call it Jet in Gujarati, is here. There's a better slide because maybe you can't see it behind it. So here is from middle of May to middle of June. This is the summer period. So we have 6 seasons in our Vedic calendar. Of course, in England, we have all the seasons all the time. But in India, these were the 6 seasons divided according to these months. So after Jet will be Ashad, then Shravan, then Bhadrava or Bhadrapad, then Ashwin or Aso, Kartik, Maksha, and so on and so on and so on. It goes round and round, and that's how the months are named in Vedic and in Gujarati. There's also a meaning, a reason behind why the months have these names. It's to do with the constellations in which the moon resides at that moment. Now, Adhik Maas occurs every 33 months on average, 2.7 years. And what happens every Adhik Maas, you will have seen in the news, nowadays on internet, you'll always get some information, oh, there's a blue moon. So this year we had what the Westerners call blue moon. And when that blue moon occurs, it will be in that same year that we will have our Adhik Maas. Now, what is a blue moon? It's not because the color is blue, it's only because in one calendar month, you will see that we have 2 full moons. And this is a rare event. So you have a full moon on January 1st, and then you have a full moon on 31st. that's not normal. That only happens every 33 months. So they call it the blue moon. That means 2 Punams in a calendar month. This is the Western Gregorian solar calendar that we use, which has 12 months fixed. But the moon, as you can see, happened twice full in the same period. In our Vedic way, what we have is we'll get 2 Amavasyas in the same calendar month. And if you recall, I mentioned that our calendar months are from middle of the Western month to the middle of the next month. So here you see where the red arrow is. On the 15th of May, it was Amavasya, and then 16th was the beginning first phase of the Adhik Maas. So from middle of May to middle of June, on 13th June, there's another Amavasya. So that's within a 1 month period, we have 2 Amavasyas. Same thing like in the Western, they have 2 full moons. So if you count it during 2018, in the Western way, there will be 13 full moons instead of the normal 12. And in our Vedic way, there will be 13 new moons, Amavasyas, instead of the usual 12. Now, when an Amavasya, as I mentioned, the month starts from the day after Amavasya. So after this date of 15th May, we call that Jeshta month started. Jeshta month started, but then we have another Amavasya within the same month. So we can't give it the name of the next month, it's still within the same span period. So it is called Jeshta again. So what the rishis did is call this one Jeshta Adhik, the extra month, for example, and this one will be continuing as the next Jeshta month. So I hope that explained a bit, but we're going to have a look at the phases of the moon to try and understand it a bit more. So here, you can see from there. So here we have the sun, the moon, and then the earth. What happens is, this is called Amavasya, the new moon. You can't see anything. And as the moon rotates around the earth, it moves every 12 degrees. We call it 1 tithi. So by the time it's done 180 degrees, it will be behind the earth, getting the full light of the sun. And we call it Punam. And then it starts waxing again, and back to the beginning, that will be the Amas. So every tithi is 12 degrees, and if you have 30 tithis, it's 30 times 12 will give you 360, which is the full circle going round, 360 degrees. So now we're going to see this a bit more. This was all set up and practiced with this slide, and it should come on. Okay, I'm just going to try it manually.